We often hear about brilliant breakthroughs happening in our laboratories, technologies that promise to change the world. And yet, many of these never reach the people who need them. They stall, they fade, and they get trapped in what we call the valley of death. How do we overcome this gap between lab validation and market scale? Our next panel is here to bridge that divide. To moderate this critical discussion, we have an expert who lives at the intersection of law, science, and business. Dr. Dara Ajay, we welcome you on stage. He is the head of the Technology Transfer Office at IIT Madras with over 15 years of experience in patent law and IP valuation, a WIPO certified professional, and the mind behind the intelligent patent analysis tool. He has been a pivotal force in enabling research commercialization and startup creation. Thank you for joining us, sir. Joining Dr. Dara Ajay, we have three distinguished specialists in the field of IP and technology transfer. First, I call Mr. Manish Kumar, the Senior Technology Transfer Officer at VIT Vellore with over a decade of experience in IP management, licensing, and technology commercialization. An engineer turned IP lawyer, he previously worked with Bharat Biotech and the World Bank-backed IKP Prime, supporting startups and global partnerships, and has advised initiatives of WHO Zero and international innovation programs. Thank you, sir. Mr. Vithal Kumar is a senior manager, IP and technology commercialization at the IKP Knowledge Park, and he brings over 16 years of experience in biotechnology research, intellectual property, and innovation ecosystem development. A certified patent agent and a Dara Fellow in Innovation Management, he previously served at the Indian Council of Agricultural Research and the National Institute of Plant Genome Research, where he played a key role in establishing the National Genomics and Genotyping Facility. Thank you, sir, for joining us. Next, I would call upon Dr. Emmanuel Selvaraj, Technology and Innovation Consultant and Founder Director of IEL Technologies, bringing 3 decades of global experience in technology transfer, open innovation, and IP strategy. Formerly with SABIC Ventures and GE India Technology Center, he has led technology scouting, licensing, and innovation programs worldwide. A PhD from IIT Kanpur, he has 15+ international publications, a patent, and multiple innovation awards. Thank you all for joining us as panelists. Dr. Dara Ajay, I would like to hand over the session to you to help us and guide us through the valley of death.
Needless to say, when 𝗏𝗏 gives an introduction, there's no further. Thanks for that. And we have heard about FTO, freedom to operate. How many of you heard about FFT? There are 2 options of FFT today I'm giving you. One is food for thought or food for tummy. We are waiting, we are at the intersection of the lunch, so we would love to have some food for thought before we go for food for tummy. So we have an excellent panel here, and the takeaway of this message should be how to overcome these challenges that you're facing at a inventor level, challenges facing at a startup level, or to going back to the industry. So that is how we have can we have the slides which I had once? Slides. I'll just take a very brief intro of you can display it, it's only a few slides. No need of a pointer. Yeah. So when we're talking about value of a death, there could be multiple reasons. As we already know that for any death, there could be multiple reasons. And for a technology to see the light of market, there are many multiple reasons in terms of value of death. And that is where I wanted to have these discussions. When you take a set of ideas, now we here are with a lot of ideas. Each person would have 10 to 100 ideas in their mind. But all the ideas can be commercialized? No. There is a chances not each idea will have an IP rights granted for it. The other way around, it would be that if you get IP rights also, getting it granted would be a challenge. Once you get a grant also, getting it licensed to a proper industry partner, and having it licensed also, will the market see the product and will the product be a hit and you get a profit out of that technology. See, that's a very long way for a technology to see the light of market, right? Now, in this way, there are two values of death. One at an academic stage, when the professor was talking, I have a patent and nobody has approached me for an industry. Rather than somebody approaching you, it is the other way around also, that you can approach the forum in the relevant areas and try to pitch in your innovations for the licensing. That's first value that we are seeing, that each professor's job is to do only till the proof of concept and validate it in the relevant environment. It is not their job to take this to the market until and unless you are an entrepreneurial professor who was talking about taking her own technology to market by herself through a sabbatical, which could be. Now, coming back to first value, there are two value of deaths in a technology cycle. The first value of death comes in a TRL level 3 to 4, and that is called the academic value of death. And here, most of the technologies do not see the light of progressing beyond the technology proof of concept. So this is where I was talking, you are standing right at the value of death in the academic place, where it has to be pushed forward to the industries, either through licensing or through any of the other collaborations. Now, there would be second value of death which is coming up, that's called a startup value of death. Now, startup value of death is that someone has taken your technology, but it was a great success, but somewhere over the demand of the market, you could not provide the necessary deliverables, or else it could have ended up due to some fund crunches. So there is some second value of death. Now, how to overcome these two is what we would discuss in terms of academic perspective, in terms of incubation and research park perspective, and in terms of industrial perspective. We can close the slides. So with this short intro, I would first like to go to the academic, Mr. Manish, and wanted to address on the aspects of what are the practical challenges of an institute in order to have an innovation capture, innovation management, and innovation translation to this one. So how are you going to have these challenges and de-risk the innovation to penetrate to the market? Please.
Thank you, Dara. Thank you to the organizers for this wonderful sessions. Before going to those challenges, I think we have two more challenges. One is to captivate the audience just at the verge of lunch. And the second is to not at the cost of not being repetitive, because a lot of these discussions and challenges have already been discussed. So I'll try to refine some of those points and try to avoid the points which has already been talked about. And this panel who works in technology transfer, we are used to these kind of challenges. And so I'll try and put it in the technology brief, which we prepare as technology marketing opportunity, where we provide certain information which helps industry get attracted to a particular technology. So let me go to the question from that point of view. So it could be snippet and I'll not be detailing it much. First and foremost, from academic point of view, we often talk about funding challenges. I think it's very subjective. Sometimes we have to look into the points that there are fundings available if we are at the place and point where we need those fundings. There are government fundings, there are industries who are ready to fund. We have seen examples, we have heard from our panelists as well. It is open. We have funding, but sometimes it's also very difficult to get fundings. It's not very uniform. So that's one challenge. And if we know those challenges, we can actually strategize how to attract those fundings at times. The second challenge that I understand is, which could be most critical, is communication challenge. The way academia communicates its technology and its work versus the way industry understands a particular technology is very, very different. We are at least talking about two things in this. One is understanding the market itself. And we have talked about it, right? The market-driven research or need-based research or the technology development based on that. The second is the research itself. The research that we have, are we able to communicate its full potential? Have we explored different use applications? And if we have not, particularly, perhaps that research will die. That's one of the value of death. So within the communication, this language is critical to identify and communicate it rightly. That's where the technology transfer offices will be critical, because they have been working in it and there are people who are trained to work in those languages, could be very much useful. It's like one set of people are talking French, other set of people are talking in JavaScript. They cannot understand each other, but there are relevance in the content that they have created. And it can be actually worked out if we can bridge that communication challenge. The other thing that I think is the third most critical point is the market relevant tech. For example, we look at the funnel that you have showed. There are IP filed, and then we filter it out, and then some licensing comes in. So the market relevant part, which a lot of panelists also talked about, is we go back and see the relevance of a particular research work that we are doing, whether it can translate into some fruitful outcome. Now, this is a feedback that comes in, but at the same time, we are also looking at the industry problem statements and understand that problem statement as well and create those particular technologies. The fourth problem I understand, which we face from academia side, is the TRL itself. The technology readiness level, when we say it's not just a particular milestone, it's also about the activities that has to be done with TRL. So for example, if we are talking about proof of concept, is it really the research and the outcome, the evidences that we have generated, are they really actually doing the proof of concept or not, right? Just achieving that, okay, we have reached this thing and therefore we have proof of concept. It may not be as relevant for the industry because their proof of concept or the challenge was maybe a little bit different. To understand the TRL, which will ultimately bridge your CRL and MRL, is also critical. So we have to understand it, bring in the capacity and the framework within our university system when we are evaluating TRLs to give correct and accurate TRL stage, so that the industry, when they come back and they ask for the data and information, they are actually aware of the real TRL that we are talking about. And finally, to summarize this, to conclude this, I think one of the problem is, industry academy gap that we talk about is also about understanding the two sides. Industry is about processes and return on investment. Research academia can be curiosity-driven research, it could be impact-driven research, and so where are we coming on the same platform is something we have to understand, and once we understand that, we can communicate it with both the parties, and perhaps then we will be able to develop the technologies and avoid these valleys of death.
Thank you, Manish. Now, picking up from what you said, so in terms of TRLs, I would request Vithal, in terms of incubation support or the innovation parks or research parks which are being formed elsewhere, how can these research parks and incubators can move beyond just the infrastructure support, but to do a technology validation, having industry partners collaborated, it is pulling me in the relevant environment, demonstrated in the relevant environment, at like a TRL 7 or 6.
So, good afternoon to everyone. I mostly work with the academic institutions and the startups. So the basic thing is the people who are into invention, they need to understand there are many supporting systems. So right now the incubation is not just giving a space to the inventor to take it further. So now the incubation space itself, the managers or the incubation CEOs and even governments itself, they realize that the incubation facilities need to nurture the inventors more than that. So now what we see from the startup point of view or the academic institutions point of, academic inventors point of view, when they come to us, the startups know that what will be the next stage and what they wanted to do it. But from the academic institutions point of view, we need to explain things more in the way to take it into market. Because we see, when we analyze the technology, we see at all the levels how it can get into market. And whenever there is technology ready with some proof of concept, we see that whether it is market relevant or not. Even a startup also, when they come to us, basically we focus on which domain it is. If it is from the medtech, it is from the pharma, so the gestation periods may be different. So accordingly, the incubations or the science park, based on their, maybe the location itself, they have inherent advantages. One like Coimbatore, when we discuss the industry, textile, right? Here the incubators and research parks may be helpful in connecting immediately to the industry. I came from 𝗥𝗏𝗏 Knowledge Park, so our domain is mostly in the pharma. So whenever somebody approaches me and asks, what will be the market pathway and connecting to the industry, we may have better advantage of giving the knowledge or the resources. And other thing is that the regulatory focus, maybe the validation, the manufacturing, these are the major problems any startup or the innovator face. So obviously the incubators, it is not like 10 years before. Now at this point of time, 2026, the incubators are more integrated within themselves and they are associating with national and international research institutions and the international market also. So that is the advantage everyone can utilize. Thank you.
Thanks, Vithal. Now, with this note, we will move on to Dr. Emmanuel, sir. Sir, science-based technology, innovation, and entrepreneurship is boosting, but still at a very limited stage. So, what steps should we should take that we can keep India to strengthen these areas? If you can shed some lights on that.
Yeah. Before I start, I'm glad that I'm part of this conference and get to hear about the status, both from academics, the industry, and where we are and where we want to go. That simply validated my thoughts on what I perceived that this is the status of innovation, the culture that what we have in India, and not specific to states, but overall as a large country with the second maximum human resources, we don't correspond to bring the output. So that it's validating, and I agree with whatever the keynote addresses happened in this morning, and also the previous panel discussion, which are very precisely what it is, the status today. I also have personally the question that Dara Ajay asked. When you see entrepreneurship, you see innovation, right? The scale or what we have, the number that coming out is not corresponding to the potential that we have. And more specifically, even in entrepreneurship, the science-based and the technology and IP protected innovations are very limited. So the number is one. Second, the scale of it. For example, if I come up with a technology which should revolutionize, it should be a game changer. So do we make in millions of dollars? Or we are satisfied with $10,000 worth, or I'm selling one of my technology by doing a technology transfer or licensing for about $50,000, right? But imagine if we are creating technologies and innovations where we will produce, we manufacture, not apps, not softwares, not anything very, something very short cycle, where it is a very long cycle to produce something. For example, you take in Hollywood, we are happy that in visual communications or the graphics, lots of Indians in companies work and they get Oscar, right? But the producer gets the glory, and we pay money to make that movie successful. But if we produce that movie ourselves, in creating with the technical knowledge as well as the direction or production or everything, then all the glory, and more so with the money that it will flow in here, right? So if I produce something which is going to add value to somebody's product, end of the day, that product I'm going to buy from India and my dollar is going out, right? But if I produce something and every country is buying, all the dollar is going to come in. So that is the, the way, when you mention science-based technologies or innovation, where manufacturing-based technologies are very much needed. How do we do it? Where do we go from there? The best way is just collaborate the industries with academic institutes. That is the best way, and most of the breakthrough technologies in Western countries, so be it in US or in Europe, it all came from academic institutes. So when you translate, that's the reason technology transfer offices are very important. And we are at a stage now, after 15 years or 20 years or so, trying to establish a technology transfer office, that at least the Government of India, with the World Bank funding, there are 7 regional technology transfer offices established in India, where academic institutes, MSMEs can go and benefit, or individual inventors, where to protect your IP and how to translate, do it licensing, so that if you cannot produce that, at least monetize your technology by protecting IP, right? That is one way of doing it. So all I'm saying is, think big. Don't compromise that, something that I wanted to accomplish in 6 months, but maybe in 6 years. It's a long cycle, but a small step if you take and get traction from government as well as private equity or venture or bank for investment, so that at least if the technology, what you come up with the breakthrough technology, can change the landscape for the whole country. Thanks.
Rightfully said. We are going to talk about the technology transfer offices. We believe we have many incubation cell managers, tech transfer offices. Now, this question is to anyone, but let Manish address it. In terms of TTO, you are handling it. See, sir was talking about there are technologies that we are buying out rather than selling it. We are buying out from the US and we are spending our money to them. Now, in general, these technologies should have some words. So the quality versus quantity. Are the TTOs generating the number of patents are high, but what is the number of patents that are being commercialized? If they are commercialized also, what are the patents that have formed a product which has made an impact? So what one reforms can strengthen this research to market pipeline? We would like to understand from an academic perspective.
Thank you. I think this is a very critical question that we have to look into. One of the points is we have to understand the IP that we are protecting is also from the strategic point of view of if a product is being built, we are ring fencing it with multiple IPRs. There is also a possibility that we are doing a lot of research and there is, all the patentability criteria are being filled up. And so we want to protect it in case there is somebody who gets interested in the licensing. That's one part of it. The second part of this whole, the quality versus quantity question in IPR is that we need to also agree, understand, and segregate the curiosity-driven research and the IP that's protected in that, and translational research and the IP that is protected from that. And if we do that, then the analysis of how many of these translational IPs are being filed, how many of them have gone through the productization, how many of them have actually found support to move to, let's say, next TRL and next TRL, and to find a relevant industry partners. That is where we have to strategize. The numbers could be less, and it would be certainly less compared to the global market, but that's where we start with. And slowly we improve on that. The quality IP that will become something that the industry will pull in. They will emphasize on more and more quality IP that these translational research are generating, which will encourage us to also focus more on that. Like we are at the point where we are finding that balance. So I'd not say that, it's one thing or the other, but we have to continuously improve on that. From the research to market point, as you mentioned, I think what is critical for us is to identify right route of commercialization, which way we are finding the best way to move forward. There are deep techs which will have a different route of commercialization. There are technologies which can immediately find an investor or a company and manufacture and sell, as Dr. Selvaraj also was mentioning. And so within that, we have to find the IP and the product and prioritize based on the need of the market. And that is something which academia has to emphasize as well.
Yeah, the technologies have to be understand whether it is a market pull or a market push. Your technology will see the light if it is a market pull, but if it is a market push technology, then you have to work out a way to penetrate to the markets with a proper strategization. In those context, let Vithal answer on the venture capitals hesitant to go and invest in certain group of technologies, not all. And what are the funding models that can support a long technology cycle? So can you please shed some light in terms of various funding models for translating the technologies?
Venture capitalists, of course, if we see in terms of funding, it may be public or private. If it is from the angel investors or the venture studios, the difficulty in funding with the startups is that the layered risk factor and the gestation period. If someone knows that the technology will give value to market and they get back the money in the next 2 years, that is actually different. When I look at deep tech or some of the pharma technologies, it is not like some app or financial app or some digital kind of thing which can give me monetization in 1 year. So the layered structure, layered risk factor itself. So the risk factor itself in 3 or 4 layers. One is the validation and manufacturing, regulatory, and market penetration, and the adaptation. So these are the kind of things. And other problem is that in our structure, the missing middle, the kind of procurement from the government, from the startups is not much encouraged. We are in a phase, of course, funding is encouraged, startups are encouraged, but startups, when they are into prototype and getting into market, they can't directly depends on the market. Government need to create some model there, maybe for the government procurement, like in US. So that is one of the disadvantages we have. And at the same time, from the incubator point of view, whenever somebody, some startup or the academic institution comes, we ask them to utilize whatever the government funding factors are available instead of spending their own money immediately. And IP strategy aligned with the business strategy. Somebody comes and say that I need an international patent filing. We ask why. What is the requirement? Whether you need it right now, or is there any stage we can take decision on it. So we analyze all those factors. And recently when we are discussing about the IP also, as an academic institution, first we ask them to use the advantage of the discount given by the patent office and the advantage by the academic institution. And next, at the second layer, when they form a company, they can see at MSME or the IPFC schemes, which are supported by the MSME, so where you will get up to maybe 5 lakhs of the amount in different conditions. And at the same time, some of the bankers also, when they see patent is an asset that you need to prove, that time there can be some support. So there are different kind of support. As an incubator, in any project, if there is any facilitation for a patent, that we support. If there is nothing, at least we see that who will be the right partner for a specific stage. That need to be taken based on the TRL level and expectation. Thank you.
Thanks. We will move a little bit away from the value of debt to the actual technologies itself. There are many sets of technologies available. Some technologies are a hot cake, some won't, some are dead. before they start itself. So in terms of what strategies can help us to improve both quantity and quality of these ideas, so I would like you to shed some lights on the sustainable development goals. I guess Vish has given a very good presentation of 7 technologies which are going through boom, and which have been of national interest. But there are technologies which are in sustainable development, maybe fighting the poverty and gender equality. And these are, so is there any scope for us to go, there are many startups, one was talking about startup rehabilitation. So is there a scope if we are choosing this sustainable development theme, gold technologies for their startups to grow on?
Yeah, so I think the previous panel discussion also we had the same question, right? So most of the time I was part of 𝗧𝗡𝗥 Ventures where we were looking for in Southeast Asia what are the technologies available that we wanted to bring it into 𝗧𝗡𝗥. Okay, it's a petrochemical company, but they are very ambitious to go to spread that they wanted to invest in the adjacency to what their core focus is. So during that time, the experiences, everybody, they wanted to talk to us. Okay, we go, they present their technologies, they have a patent, and only thing that, the outcome is that I have a patent, and I think this is good, and you should buy it, right? So how does that relate to me, right? What the business that I'm doing, whether will I be interested, should I do it? I'm going to invest into that some new area, whether should I take it or not is the company's question, right? But as an inventor, as a technologist, that we love our job so much. I can say that because I was a technologist before I moved to another roles. But when you put that across, it is what is that the company really or the industry will be looking for, right? So SDG is something which is related. At least, if your project or what you work on, the research or the technology that you are doing should be related to something which will improve the quality of the life for the people, for the society, right? So you all know 17 SDGs, and at least 8 of them are directly that you can work on improving the technology, clean water, right? Or innovation infrastructure itself is by one, right? And if you can relate that to, at least industry will be having some interest, where at least they can put for their marketing, their branding, that they are working on SDGs, right? So remember this, if you are from academics, right? Industry is, the reason they are in business is to make money. So if I am putting money, what do I get in return, right? So when you choose a problem itself and see how is it relevant to the society, right? Once you fix that, then only the industry, because industry is going to provide that solution to the society, and in return they are going to make money out of it. So if you don't have that link, you cannot convince industry. They are not doing charity, right? Even CSR is for branding for the company. It is not for, I really wanted to build a nice computer center for an engineering college. No, I put my company name all over, and I get tax exemption for that, whatever the money that I spend. So all I'm saying is you need to be useful, or the technology that you have should be useful, which will make money for somebody else, right? Then only they'll be interested in investing in your technology or buying the technology by licensing. Maybe I'll add one more thing. The number, right, what you get, right, the metrics based, right, if you have, we get very well distracted. You go and see number of patents by academic institutes, right? In recent times, you must be seeing in newspaper, right, combine all IITs, number of patents filed, and a couple of private institutes filing patents, right? What is the meaning? What do you derive out of it? Because that helps them to get accreditation or their ranking. But that is not correspondingly translating to generate goodwill for anybody, right? So the number of patents doesn't mean anything. What gets out of it is what that you should look for.
Thank you. There is a deep research. I recommend all the startups to go and dwell into this SDGs. Having the right area chosen will ease your job in terms of funding. That's what I would stay here without mentioning any specific areas though. But what sir has told is of very important before you start your business. Now moving up to the second part of innovation strategies, invention, innovation versus invention. I would want Vithal to discuss. You have done a course in Denmark on the innovation management cycle. So kindly shed some lights on those, how the invention is seen different from that of the innovation, and what are the strategies that we can easily adapt to become successful?
Before answering this question, the previous one related to SDG, if government practice technology welfare governance model, bringing academic institutions and industry and startups with some technologies which can impact, that may be a good model to relate with to create impact. And the second question related to innovation management. So this is actually what we are talking about from morning. So we practice, we do, but there should be a structured practice of doing things. ISO 56000 series, which defines innovation management as a structured process. As an individual innovator, if I am looking at transforming into an organization, or an organization if I need to keep the entire process in a structured way. So which starts from the idea management itself. How you procure ideas. If any educational institute is having 200 or 300 members of faculty, some are having projects, some do not have projects. Everybody might have an opportunity to share the ideas, but what is the structured way of capturing the ideas and taking it to the next stage? So ISO 56000 generally deals with that. At the same time, the structured process, how to manage revenue resources within the organization, and how we will spend on which resource, who will be responsible for so on so. If we take up a startup, when startup comes to us, we analyze that what is the process of going in the next 12 months or the 24 months of timeline. Is there any hack to deploy their technology or the industry association? Are they need maybe after 6 months any hospital related requirements? So most of the medtech inventors, they will ask for the deployment and manufacturing. So innovation management basically deals from idea portion to the end process. So that is how we see things in the innovation management. Thank you.
Thanks. Manish, from a TTO perspective, there are many faculties here. I want you to just briefly give an example, a methodologies of layout of TTO, how the faculty is to be approached with what information, and what does the TTO expect from them to disclose, and how you are going to manage it, and what sort of help the TTO should provide to the faculty. Should we put them more burden on them to draft the application? No. So if we can clearly segregate the roles of faculty, what is that they have to disclose, and TTO, what is that their job to do, so that it gives a clear perspective from end-to-end cycle of idea to filing to commercialization.
Thank you for
briefly.
This.
I know this is a big topic, but out of the interest of time, I am asking this. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. So this question is on assumption that you have in-house IP and tech transfer office. If you do not have, this is the time you have it. The reason is, what we want from our inventors is complete disclosure. This is an internal document. We want to understand everything from you. I, as a tech transfer officer, has not worked on this technology, but I am equipped to understand the three sides of your technology, which is technology, your IP, and your market. right? We do analysis and we get back to you, understanding whether the IP is strong, validation is done to the extent possible, and then what is the market potential to this, and we then round up, come back to you if something more is required. Once we are ready with this, what the next step is, we prepare a technology brief, which is a 1-pager brief or 2-pager brief, which reach out to the companies. This could also be done directly by reaching out to them, having a discussion, but if you capture it in a page or 2-page, it is easier for everybody to understand, because the time is of a constraint. If they are interested, they can have a discussions with you. And the third part that I would really want the inventors to take up is become sidepreneurs. This is entrepreneurial scientists who understands what entrepreneurship is. They need not do a spin out or go into entrepreneurship, but they understand the nitty-gritties of product development and commercialization. This really helps, and how we can do is through training, through a different exercise that we can do. From TTO perspective, what we will do is we will take care of the rest of the thing, because you have already taken care of the bulk of the thing. What we need to do is then market it, reach out to the right partners, and transfer those technologies. So, in the morning, Mr. Dinesh talked about structured synergy. This is where what I want to also emphasize from the inventor side, from TTO side, and from industry side. If we take care of these two parts from our side, industry is very much willing to put their time and effort if they see this seriousness from us. So I'll conclude with this. If we have this, we can work it out. There is a lot of success stories that we can build, and we can share in this forum and multiple forums to come. Thank you.
Out of the interest of time, we have run through our questions very fastly, although we do have one round of sets which would take another 15 minutes, which we wanted to pause it and see if there are any thoughts from the audience and wants to ask any questions. We'll be happy to address that at this point of time. Yes, please. Stand up and speak, sir. No worries. You can hear.
My name is Kumar. I have two comments and questions. One of them is value of that we talked about. The thing that's missing in crossing the value of that when it comes to crossing it is not just researchers and industry problems, but also the infrastructure. So you need to have not just university-based lab facilities, but industrial level infrastructure. And places like IIT Madras might have it, but not all the universities and colleges, especially Tier 2, Tier 3 have. And this is a submission to the Tamil Nadu Research Park Foundation that those facilities should be set up in key areas. For example, in Coimbatore, if you are going to start a Center of Excellence in pump and foundries, we have model foundries or small-scale foundries or other testing facilities that will come up with that. Not just funding and giving problem statements. So that's one thing. Second thing is what I like Mr. Punram said is they're changing their attitudes in terms of approaching universities or colleges from short-term to long-term. Research is a long-term game. You don't go in today and expect a problem or solution tomorrow. That doesn't happen in research environment. So the industry should be patient enough to invest in the universities, provide them the problems, handhold them, and also help them in terms of progressing the technologies. That's the only way, in my view, we can cross the valley of death. Any comments?
I think that's more than a statement than a question. I think in your first phase, Dinesh and team are working on the ways to generate the infrastructure, and that's currently what has been established is efforts, and that would fruitfully go as the time passes through. In your second point, industry having a patience is academic has to understand that we are running I'm answering this question because it's very generic. So academics have to understand the need of the industry and the pace of the industry. We understand that we are a startup, we don't have a muscle power to run as fast as industry, but it it cannot be the reason for industry to take it for granted. So either we have to have that muscle power to run or equip ourselves with those various strategies or build in, have collaborations. If you can't, scalability, the second value of death is scalability, that you cannot do. So you cannot do, then you have to take a support of a third party. Go and have some collaborations with a third party manufacturers who can help you out. So somewhere we should also understand the industry is running a rat race. If you're not going up to market today, they will go. Someone else will run and jump and get the monopoly. So we have to meet the timelines which are very critical. Any other questions, please? Yes, please.
Actually, as part of the University Research Park, one of the core pillars is building the lab facilities. So we actually identified 60 acres inside Bharatiyar University. So that's the natural transition. It is going to have a lot of common research facilities, infrastructure. So now the industry and the academia here can prepare now and decide what you want, but it is already in the vision of the government that there will be a huge research infrastructure. But our first step is not that. First step is to get the projects going and then decide what are the infrastructure that we need to build. So,
Thank you.
Excellence. You are asking about Center of Excellence for pumps and foundry.
Foundries.
It is going to come in Coimbatore. Already Center of Excellence is available in 𝗧𝗡𝗥. It's a part of 𝗏𝗧𝗪. 𝗏𝗧𝗪 and 𝗓𝗏 jointly developed. There is a pump research center is available. You can make use of the facility. It has got all testing facilities, and they are going to develop one more Center of Excellence coming for new pump developments. Already you have seen about slurry pumps. Now slurry submersible pump has been developed by 𝗧𝗡𝗥. You can make use of it. Foundry one COE is coming in Coimbatore. Thank you. This is for information of your academic. They can make use of all this Center of Excellence. It is not for industries, for academic also. 𝗧𝗡𝗥, you can make a visit. If you need any help, I can give the contact. I can make arrangements to visit the 𝗧𝗡𝗥. Thank you.
There's a gentleman standing out there, yeah.
Actually, I want to get an advice from the panel members. We used to groom a lot of young researchers in our institutions, and as a mentor, how can we align the student research to the industrial needs so that they won't get caught up in this valley of death? Because we used to get a lot of problems in converting the student research and particularly aligning with the industrial needs and also for commercialization. What are the ideas or any advice so that we can follow, or a framework that can be framed related to this?
Yeah, so see, selection of project itself, okay, students come and go, it's a short term. But the very important thing is faculty members. And I think, Dr. 𝗏𝗧𝗪 mentioned that instead of training the students, first we need to train the faculty members. So if you are going to be a mentor, then, you need to be, so people ask, how do I know what industry wants? There are, different ways you can get, right? Lots of, if you go through publications, you go through patterns, you know the trend, what everybody is working on. That is one, right? From the product specification or whatever you see, advertisement or whatever, right? The main thing is that we all think in India that if we have to attend a conference, we need to go and present papers. But it's not necessary. You need to attend conferences and go to such meetings to get to know what others are doing. So, lots of sponsors, right, companies sponsor, they normally advertise. You go to I don't know how many of you go to the K show in Europe, right? Here, Plast India happens, right, once in 2 years or 3 years. So, everybody will come and showcase what is the latest technology. It may not be in the market yet, but they will display, right? From missionaries to consumer product to anything, because they are specialized. So you go and interact, because it's an opportunity for you go and talk to them, right? Because it's an expo. So you'll identify and you see what is you are good in fluid dynamics, right? Then you see like there are problems that which you can work on. What is the latest technology these companies are working, and don't give a problem to a student for only because they come for 1 year project. If you take 6 months goes in maybe typical literature survey or get to know and all that, right? So choose a project. Maybe for 5 years you can continue the problem. The first year, this year, the student, the 4th year student can do some portion of it. The following year, continue that project. And I have interacted with lots of academic institutes. Every year, right, the same faculty member, right, 4 students are coming. Assume that every year he gives a different project to different students, right? You don't accomplish anything, right? So that is what I'm telling. It's all part of the metric system because that's a requirement for them to finish a project. You say the standard format, right? And you say that you finish this, you are done with it. Don't do that. You do that. I'm not telling you because that's a requirement. But side by side, have somebody, maybe somebody in a leisure time who is interested in, technology and innovation. May not be, all students are interested in it. Somebody who wants to be an entrepreneur, somebody who wants to be an inventor. Those students can come extra time, maybe 10% of your student strength, 20%. That's what that's what the Western culture, it comes because it gives freedom for them to choose, and the faculty members use them. And the industry, instead of funding their own resources for a 200K for one resource, even $5,000, you give it to a university, you get lots out of it. So you need to think the economical aspects of it, right? Also, which is should be lucrative for the industry also to come in. And remember, you need to definitely be adding value to the industry who is going to put some money into it. So identify, align the common purpose. Right? Common purpose is to get a new technology. So that's what I would say, choosing your project, and for a long term you can achieve it with multiple people and share the credit once you achieve it after a few years.
Yes, when Santilia stands, everybody should be silent. I mean, can we take one more question or done? One last question.
One more question.
Yes, yeah. One last question, please.
So I could see like, every organization has its own mandate, like TIDCO and ITM. It's like lots of inspiration and synergy is getting shared. So what I found interesting from Manish's conversation is like there needs to be a translation between communication of academia versus what is the perception or reception, how it is received in the industry side. So what if there is a platform that is built, for like that can be used for a single window kind of setup. So I think TIDCO, Dinesh sir is also trying to build such platform. So what if we can make it AI-enabled platform, like which can make auto matches between problem statements and the solutions, kind of market it in a way that it's not marketed earlier. So for example, the inventor always wants to use the same word he used for invention. So they don't want to change it because they're clingy to their invention, and they don't want to deviate from that. And on the other hand, if there is a small change that could be done to the invention, the industry could accept. So a little bit of policing or makeup,
Right.
So yeah.
So what I'll do is also, invite my panelists to add on to this. What I understand, certainly the platform that you are talking about is very nice step that can be built, and already we have industry problem statement. I'm looking forward to actually dig into that and invite my researchers to work on that, because that's the best way of taking it forward. And at the same time, but when we are looking for the meaningful engagement with industry partners, it comes from a particular institute, their research strengths, and how long we are going to continue. If there is a particular scientist who has an expertise on something, they are the people who will drive it. from innovation point of view, it's a lot of people-centric capabilities that we have to harness. So from that point of view, if you talk a particular institute, they would want their own relationship to grow. If it goes to a platform, there are chances that it can get diluted, right? But at the same time, if it is, for example, a government-driven platform, it will find credibility both from the institutes as well as the industry, because that's where everybody agrees that we have to work together, and for the nation we have to build it. So certainly that can be possible. Already government of Tamil Nadu is working on it, and we are looking forward to it. As an academic representative, I'll be very much happy to take it forward and continue to work on it. And I'm sure the industry people, as in the panel when we were sitting, we resolved a lot of issues, so that communication can also be resolved. Communication gap can be resolved when we are talking about it. So platform definitely helps. This also is a platform, by the way. So this will catalyze more, certainly will be helpful. Anybody wants to add, please do.
As I told, we'll go back to the food for thought is done. Now food for tummy is at our time. So we are here till the end of the day. So please free to interact with us, and happy to have extended discussion on your specific topics, specific problems that you are facing, which cannot be even discussed in shorter time, right? So over to Santilia. Thanks.
The perspectives of institutions and industries are often differed in approach and priorities. Knowledge creation versus profitability. Long-term versus short-term planning horizon. Publication versus product. Funding versus investment. Only when the verses are replaced with summation, the real impact will be felt, and research will get the visibility that it needs for it to reach the market. So thank you, panelists, for addressing the translational barriers with such clarity. As a token of our appreciation for this insightful session, I would now like to request Mr. Nixon Raj to kindly come forward to present the mementos to the speakers of this session. First, we would like to honor Mr. Manish Kumar. Next, we would like to honor Mr. Vithal Kumar. And now we would like to honor Dr. Emmanuel Selvaraj.